Have you ever wondered how an empire that once controlled a quarter of the world's land and people, an empire literally on which the sun never set, could crumble into near bankruptcy? It's a story of incredible ambition, astonishing wealth, and ultimately, crippling greed. This is the story of how the British Empire, the richest in history, was brought to its knees. For centuries, Britain was the undisputed superpower. From the rolling hills of England to the vast plains of India, from the bustling ports of Hong Kong to the shores of the Caribbean, the Union Jack flew high. This wasn't just about land, it was about unprecedented wealth. Spices, tea, cotton, diamonds, gold. A constant torrent of riches flowed into London, making it the financial capital of the world. The empire was a meticulously designed machine, built to extract resources and generate profit. But what happens when the machine's only purpose becomes to feed itself? This brings us to the heart of the empire, what I call the greed machine. It wasn't just about trade. It was about exploitation on an industrial scale. The East India Company, for example, started as a trading firm, but morphed into a corporate predator, wielding its own army to conquer territories and drain them of their wealth. In India, they systematically dismantled local industries to sell British-made goods. In Africa, they carved up the continent without a second thought for the people living there, all for access to rubber, cocoa, and minerals. This wasn't just business. It was a state-sanctioned system where profit was placed above all else, including human lives and entire cultures. The immense fortunes of a few were built on the backs of millions. But here's the fatal flaw in a system built on endless greed. It's unsustainable. The empire was expensive to maintain. The costs of policing a quarter of the globe, of maintaining a massive navy, and of fighting constant colonial wars were astronomical. For a long time, the colonies paid for it. But resentment was brewing. People were tired of being exploited. The seeds of independence were being sown across the globe. Then came the two biggest shocks to the system, World War I and World War II. These wars weren't just fought in Europe. They were global conflicts that drained the empire of its money and its manpower. Britain had to borrow colossal sums of money, especially from the United States, mortgaging its future to fight for its survival. Millions of colonial soldiers fought and died for an empire that had oppressed them, and after the wars, they rightfully asked, what now? The demand for independence became a deafening roar that could no longer be ignored. The collapse was surprisingly swift. India, the jewel in the crown, gained independence in 1947, triggering a domino effect. One by one, colonies across Asia, Africa, and the Caribbean broke away. Britain, exhausted by war and drowning in debt, simply couldn't afford to hold on. The Suez Crisis of 1956 was the final humiliation. When Britain tried to assert its old imperial power over the Suez Canal, it was forced into a humbling retreat by pressure from the United States. The message was clear. The old lion no longer ruled the jungle. The empire was over. Britain was left a shadow of its former self, grappling with a shattered economy and a lost identity. So, what's the lesson in all of this? The story of the British Empire is a powerful cautionary tale. It shows that an empire built on extraction and greed, rather than on partnership and mutual respect, is doomed to fail. Wealth built on the suffering of others creates a foundation of resentment that will eventually crack. It teaches us that true, lasting strength doesn't come from how much you can take from the world, but from what you can contribute to it. The sun finally set on the British Empire, not just because of wars or economics, but because its greedy heart could no longer sustain its massive, hollow body. Thank you so much for watching. It's a complex piece of history, and I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this interesting, please give it a like and subscribe for more deep dives into the stories that shaped our world. See you next time.